All right, so today we have a pretty interesting list. This is mainly an ice aggro version of Jarl. The entire point of this deck is you're mainly playing your cards rather than blocking with them. So previous versions of Jarl are really mid-range focused. You have a good mix of blocking and attacking. Pretty much all of your cards block for 3, so you always have the option to basically take a more defensive stance during the game. This list can do it, but it is really priced into attacking with its cards because a lot of the ice cards with Go Again mainly block for 2, right? So they're kind of a little bit more incentivized to be played on offense. This list is kind of interesting. I think it actually does have some game into the Illusionist, but more importantly, I think it's just really good at decks where you need to steal tempo from the entire game, where if you play too passively or too defensively, you run the risk of giving them too much time to set up to kill you. For this list, we're playing Civic Steps, which is probably my least favorite part about the deck because we just don't really have the aura density to be playing the trunks, and also we're not playing decomposed cards, so there's kind of no purpose to having the 1-block Earth Boots. I, of course, would like to find a way to put them back in the list because I just really have a personal bias against Civic Steps, but Civic Steps can be okay in this list because you're able to slow down the game so heavily that if your opponent sends anything back at you, it may only be a 1 to 2 card hand. So there's a high likelihood that your Civic Steps is actually like perfectly fine and not really like, you know, getting them like good value. And so we'll run down the rest of the list here. We're on Tunic because we're playing Pummel and we're playing Sledge. So we have a really good curve outlet for Tunic, not compared to something like the Barkskin list because, you know, Barkskin we weren't playing, you know, things like Pummel or Sledge pretty much. We now have a reason to play Tunic. And when we go into this, I was saving this. This is my favorite part of the list here, is the 9 copies of Winter's Bite. So Winter's Bite is actually a really powerful card, basically into any deck that gets exponentially stronger the more cards they're holding. So think about something like Viserai. Viserai with Mordred Tide and 5 cards presents, you know, like a 20 damage turn. A Viserai with the Mordred Tide and like 1 or 2 other cards doesn't present any. The Mordred Tide scales based on how many cards you get to keep, right? Think about something like Arc Lightning as well. Like Arc Lightning with 4 other cards is a lot more powerful than Arc Lightning with like 1 other card. So these are cards that exponentially get stronger the more cards you're able to hold on to. Something like Winter's Bite directly denies that. And while blue is pretty cool, you want more copies of this because it lets you play super aggressively, right? Like if your turn is like Winter's Bite, red, they pretty much will have to discard a card in most, you know, aggro decks. Like they're not going to have a blue that they can afford to pitch, right? So you're just ripping a card 1 for 1 from them, and this has Go Again, right? So this is perfectly fine. You play this and then you play another disruptive piece. They're on the back foot the entire game. And once Jarl's online, you know, these are also given an additional Frostbite as well. So if you just play like 2 Winter's Bites in a turn, just like give them Frostbites, give them, you know, like hand rip twice, like they're passing back into you. And normally that's a problem with Guardian because normally when Guardian gets 4 cards, they don't do anything, right? They have no good damage output. They don't scale very well with hand size. They want to play smaller hands. But a list like this that has so many Go-Agains, right, with Winter's Bites and Ice Quakes, you're actually able to pretty much convert most of your hands pretty effectively. Also things like Pummel. That just means that when you lock your opponent out of a turn and they pass back and you have 4 cards, it means instead of just throwing like a blue attack or something like that, you can play like CLF, send a Frostfang, you know, lock them out of another turn. You can play like an Ice Quake on like a tall attack like Disable, you know, for 12. And so this list is really tempo orientated. And the weakness of this list, of course, is that if you're ever put in a spot where your opponent, you know, gets tempo, it's going to be a little bit difficult for you to buy back into the game. And also your deck blocks very poorly. So if you ever trip on Disruption and an aggro deck combos pretty aggressively into you, there's a pretty high likelihood that you may just unfortunately fall behind too far having so many 2 blocks, but we'll see how this list goes in time, right? So to run through all the cards, right, we're playing CNC and Disable. These are just good disruptive cards along with Spinal. And we can pummel these, of course. We can play Ice Quake on them. They fit perfectly well off of blue. You can go Ice Quake. If Jarl's online, you give them a Frostbite, and then you get to play CNC for 9. That's only 3 cards. Really good. You can do it with Frostfang. You can do it with Disable. You can do it with Spinal. And all these cards, of course, can be pummeled as well pretty cleanly if you have Tunic up, right? So any of these, you can pitch 1 to 2 blues depending on the cost, have a resource floating, use your Tunic, and then go ahead and you can pummel it. Mangle, of course, you can pummel as well, or use Tunic to play with 1 blue, but ideally you would have an elemental card so that way you're able to pitch into the Gauntlets of Boreal and hopefully get an extra keyword put onto it or a buff. And also having Tunic means you can disrupt a few turns, play a little bit slower, maybe have to block in a certain pocket, and then use 1 blue and send Sledge. The reason why we're playing Sledge here instead of Anathos is mainly just because our blues are really heavy on ice. So they don't actually turn on Anathos, and so we're just playing Sledge, but you can of course go like Icequake Sledge for 9 on hit Frostbite, and if they already have a Frostbite in their zone from the Icequake, you know, you're threatening 2 in the same turn. This deck can just lock aggro out of the game so quickly. It's actually really impressive. We have Rouse in this list compared to something like an Anathos style list of Jarl. It's going to be a little bit harder to actually turn on Rouse naturally. So this may be a second cycle card that you intentionally pitch stack, you know, along with some strong blues, right? So like Cranial, your Glacial, your Macho, Disable, or it's something you're going to want to arsenal and then like wait for the right moment to play it. And, you know, ideally you go like Rouse, pitch a blue and use Tunic and send Sledge after, or send a disruptive attack. That's kind of it. And when we go to the sideboard here, we have Summit plus Stalag and Ice Cap. So this just makes sure that you absolutely lock out, you know, Rune Blades, you lock out Ninja. You don't need to worry about playing like Sledge into, you know, these like aggro decks. Like you have all of the disruptive capability of Ice Cap and Stalagmite. And then once Stalagmite's gone and you're ever given the room to send 6, right, with the 2 blues, you know, you're able to send Summit. We have a little bit of an aggro package, right? This would be for the Mirror or for Enigma, right? You can go Zealous, Belting, and E-Strike. These also pair really well, right, with Winter's Bite and Icequake. Something interesting about Enigma is that the Winter's Bites are actually pretty strong into her, because if you're able to rip the cards and give her Frostbites, and Enigma breaks her armor pretty quickly during the game, it gets much harder for her to defend her ward. So if you know, play like Red Winter's Bite, rip an entire card from her, and then also give a Frostbite, it gets much easier for you to attack her ward directly, especially if you're going to play a buff like Icequake or Pummel, or you're going to play a go again attack like Zealous or, you know, E-Strike. The other cool thing too about Zealous is that it pairs really cleanly with Sledge. You can just pitch 2 blues in a turn and go, you know, swing 11 over 2 attacks, and if she's trying to protect a pretty important piece of ward, it gets much harder for her. And then we have Staunch for the Mirror, Sync for the Mirror, and also into aggro. And we're running AB1 still. I think that the Jarl lists just get too clunked up if you're trying to respect, you know, Kano or Verdance, or I guess Acilio. So running the AB3 feels a little bit unnecessary. You're just taxing too many slots, in my opinion. You could, if you wanted, you know, you could like cut Staunch or something here, but I think that's kind of tricky. Into Kano, you know, or Verdance, I suppose, you're able to kind of lock them out and play really aggressively anyway. You know, like giving Frostbites to Acilio as well and directly taxing cards from hand, especially with like Blizzard and CLF as well as additional disruption. It's pretty nuts, right? Like that's a pretty setup heavy deck. So the fact that you're able to, you know, go directly after the arsenal with these cards and also like buff them to give disruption on their turn with the Frostbites, I'm not super concerned. I think you can probably just like aggro them down on AB1 and just hope to get there. So if you want to include AB2, you absolutely could. But yeah, that's the deck. So let's actually, you know, get a game so you can see how this deck plays. All right, so here we're going to try out the aggro ice list into new. There's a few things that are worth considering here. The first being whether or not we want extra D-reacts. Us being on the play makes it a little bit harder for us to resolve some of our, you know, more aggressive threats like Pummel. We get less leg room to do it, basically. We're also thinking about something like Ice Cap plus Stalagmite. It can make her math a little bit harder, but her ripping a bunch of cards from us makes me kind of lean towards Sledge, but we're going to go ahead and try out running more ice equipment. Although going first, it's really tough. Kind of makes me want to lean towards Crown, just because there's a chance whatever we arsenal on turn 1 may get immediately pressured, and we have to fight really hard to maintain tempo in this game. So I think we're going to try cutting the E-Strikes for the Sinks, keeping the Pummels in, and we're going to try keeping Staunch out for now. We're going to go ahead and run this. Not the worst turn 1 hand. Like, we're just going to get to crumble on the Mask and pass. Our hope probably is to maybe get to resolve the Rouse next turn, but I'm not super convinced. I'm kind of leaning towards arsenaling the Blizzard, but arsenaling Rouse is probably the easiest way to get to play it. It just means that, you know, we get more equity out of, you know, like pitching a blue that doesn't actually reveal to the Rouse. Opening with Mistblade's a little spooky here, but I mean that's expected, of course, when they're going second. I'm kind of tempted just to tempo block with the Stalagmite out the gate, because like we're just gonna play Mangle for 12 dominate. Oh, it seems really good, honestly. We really need to keep this hand. I'm kind of thinking about what would wreck us in terms of Mistblade. It would probably be like Surgical. Surgical would be really bad. Or, you know, Siren's Call. Siren's Call is really good. Siren's Call is insane. All right, so we're already kind of cooked. It's already looking pretty bad. We maybe could have considered resolving the Blizzard in response to the Siren's Call, but that seems so bad. And man, their Mistblade still hits. Siren's Call is such an awesome card. Rough spot to be in. Do we need to block with Stalagmite here? So I think at this point we can like try to crown block and get really greedy for Arouse. And try to get into a blue. I just want to be able to pummel this Mangle. This is going to make life so much easier compared to just sending it for 8 Dominate. Like 8 Dominate is going to be so easy for that deck to stop. Okay, I think this is where we're going to just try to get lucky here. I'm kind of happy with this, so it's only pressuring the arsenal and not our hand. Did we get lucky? We do get lucky. That's awesome. We're fine taking the damage here. Cool. We'll probably get to kill the Mass this turn, which before they've even transcended, I think puts us in a pretty good spot. We'll get to also remove a card from their hand as well with the Pummel. I believe that should be a Fang Strike in Arsenal. Blocking with the Mask here, yeah, that makes perfect sense. We still are just going to resolve the Pummel here. I don't want to put things in my arsenal, makes it liable to disruption. And I also want to remove a card from their hands. Mask is gone, so our life has gotten a lot easier. Interesting. I think we're probably going to Blizzard this turn, and then probably just try to send the Frostfang on our turn. Maybe Arsenal the Rouse. We also could consider blocking the Mistblade. Once again, I am concerned about Siren's Call though. I think that with the Blizzard plus the Frostbite, holy moly, okay. We're gonna go ahead and play the Blizzard now. They have less cards in hand, so there's a good chance we're actually gonna turn off the Go Again on the Mistblade. They're gonna get to take probably our Rouse or our Cranial, but we're still gonna get to send Frostfang. We shut off their entire turn. It's a huge tempo play for us. They get to draw a card, but it doesn't really matter unless if they have a second Siren's Call they just play here. But with no way to give it Go Again, I'm pretty sure, because I want to say Fang Strike or Slither only targets attacks. Yeah, they're just going to pass back. So we got a really good few turn cycles out of this, right? Like we sent all that damage. They had to lose Mask. They gave us, I believe, 0 cards. We pummeled 1 out of the hand, but then, you know, shutting down their turn with 3 cards left is massive. We only took 1 damage. They are down 2 Siren's Calls now, no Mask. They haven't even transcended this game. So I'm feeling pretty good. We've somehow also managed to dodge blocking with any of our big powers. The scariest thing about this matchup, honestly, is the fact that compared to some of the other Jarl lists, we're not playing any of like the aura blues, and we're playing so many of the cards that she can actually just like throw at us with Mistblade. I'm assuming at this point it's probably like levels, if I had to guess. And if it is levels, I really don't want to block with my hand at all. This is all really good conversion. We can go Winter's Bite into CLF into CNC, which probably just kills her. We could stick the Stalagmite in front, maybe. Honestly, I'm kind of tempted just to block with the gauntlets here. I think we're just going to cash these in now. The only reason to not use Stalagmite is I'm assuming if it's something like levels, they're just going to be able to pitch for it anyway. Okay, this is kind of reading like it's going to be Codex. Maybe, or no, sorry, it's the Fang Strike in Arsenal. I've forgotten this entire time. I wonder if that changes if we actually do want to play the CNC though. Because they're probably just going to take it, I'm assuming. But if they've just pitched out Codex, and I think we're chilling. Like, they probably want to clear Arsenal now, but I think that we're probably doing pretty okay. since we just saw a Codex get pitched. So this is where Winner's Bite is pretty good to new, because the less cards she can keep, the less, you know, pressure she's able to put on us. We'll go ahead and play the CLF now. Pop our Tunic and play our CNC. And she's probably just going to eat this, I'm assuming. If I had to guess, probably wants to clear the token out of the arsenal and get something else in there. No? Okay, protecting it. That's definitely pretty fascinating. I'm hoping we get to keep the CLF around, but I'm not super sure if we're going to. Okay, yeah, I'm not too surprised. The only nice thing here, though, is that this makes D-Reacts pretty bad with the CLF still out. We honestly could have thought about arsenaling the Winner's Bite and then just sending the CNC. Biggest reason is that I would really like to be able to keep an extra card here, or to be able to rip a card when we don't have any other ice disruption. So we know it's a Slither, or is it a Fang Strike? I've honestly forgotten at this point. I don't want to give her a card that she can use, so I think I'm going to block with the Frozen here. We also could eat it, but does our hand really do anything super impressive? We can play the CLF into the CNC. That might be fine, but we can do that. No, we actually can't do that unless if we... Okay. I think we could probably... Okay, it was the Slither. I did forget that part. Okay, banished is a red, so it doesn't even get the card draw. It's pretty sick for us. Let's go ahead and play a CLF. Completely shut down their turn again. Although this got way worse without the card draw, which is pretty unfortunate. So I'm now considering just not sending the CNC and just sending the hammer. I think we're just gonna send the hammer. It feels really bad to send the, you know, the 4 instead of the 6, but I really was assuming that we were gonna pressure Arsenal again. I think we want to hold on to the CNC. Also going to keep the extra ice card in hand anyway means that we have a high likelihood of getting to keep CLF for another turn, and I think that might be all right with us. That's a pretty solid hand, honestly, but we don't have anything to really target with the Mangle. Is there anything I'm worried about? They can't react on this, which is actually pretty good. Unless if this is a specifically... So we're blocking this for sure. I'm trying to figure out what react they could do that would get around CLF. Anything like a Venomous Bite would cost 2 right now, so they wouldn't be able to do it. I'm trying to figure out with the Wave. The Wave would cost 2. So they could pitch into it and put it up to 5. I'm just trying to figure out if I want to use Civic here or not. We've seen 1 levels get blocked. I'm really just concerned about levels getting extra value. I think in most circumstances I would be fine given the gauntlets here, but we're holding the Mangle, so we can't do that. There's also an option to just block with these 2 and then to use Tunic to send the Mangle, but we can send it for 10 and keep the CLF around. I'm kind of tempted to give Civic, but that Quicken token can be kind of scary. I think we're gonna risk it though. I'm more concerned about giving the Quicken late game when we actually have like blues in our banish that she can play. So I think it's a little bit less bad for us right now, especially for keeping CLF around. But I'm not exactly thrilled about sending this without threatening any armor. There's a high likelihood that she could just eat it, which it seems like might happen. Although, nope, the sink does cost 1. Oh wow, okay, never mind. We're chilling. we get to still rip 2 cards thanks to CLF, and CLF is sticking around. And we get to go Ice Quake on the CNC, which is like probably one of my favorite lines in this deck, honestly. And we'll still have the CLF up. Not that it really matters on the CNC. It's not like she would play a D-React anyway, but... Ooh, sending Misplayed. I think... That's pretty interesting because she probably would have sent levels, unless if you just really want the other blue in pitch. How many mangles have we seen? We've seen 2, so it seems unlikely that the third one we're going to be able to use gauntlets with, because I think we've just pitched a crumble, we played a crumble, so we're kind of out of juice for the mangle. I think this is kind of telegraphing levels to me. I could be totally wrong here. Okay. Oh, it's Codex, interesting. Alright. It's gonna be CNC, I'm assuming. Totally chill with us. Oh no, it's Death Touch, sorry. Alright, because the CLF. Well, we're cooking over here, because we get to, you know, block 6 on a non-stealth with our spooky cards that we don't want to ever stick in front of a stealth card. And we're gonna get to send a CNC for 8. And the coolest part too is gonna give the frostbite, you know, with the ice quake. Like that part's also really nice. So Gauntlet block was completely dead there. I could have blocked with Civic. You know, it's like a hindsight thing. It did kind of read like levels. I could be totally wrong. I really am like not as well versed against new as I would like to be. It's just a hard deck to play against. It just plays so many different lines, you know. All right, we're getting full tempo. Very happy with that. Hoping to draw some winner's bites on the next turn. Well, we got exactly what we asked for. Prognosis. We can go ahead and stick Civic in front. Although, honestly, there's a pretty high chance that Prognosis would hit a blue and we won't even have to do anything, but I do want to, I can't risk getting this hand disrupted because it's just so bad. We have a few different things we could do. So we could play Winter's Bite into Frostfang, but that seems pretty redundant. The biggest question is if we want to pitch the Winter's Bite or the Sink Below. The Sink Below lets us play more defensively. The Winter's Bite lets us play more aggressively. I'm getting the feeling we're gonna get to play a little bit aggressive right now. I guess she does have the option to block with one card in both of the equipment, so maybe Sink would be a pretty good answer here, assuming she wants to keep a 3-card tempo play. No? Okay. Then we're very glad in this circumstance if we are getting 2 actual cards from the deck that we're putting Winter's Bite into Arsenal. This lets us keep up the aggression. Sure. Gonna go ahead and block 6 with our big powers so we don't have to worry about, you know, getting blown out to stealth cards. Or just like, you know, new activation late game, stuff like that. Tunic isn't up, so I think we play the blue Winter's Bite here, and the next turn when the Tunic is up, we play the red Winter's Bite. The only awkward part is if she has a D-React here. No, okay. I was gonna say you could pitch a blue and then play the D-React and clear the Frostbite, but it looks like we got pretty lucky. Maybe we could even read that we should also play the red Winter's Bite, but I want to hold on to it, I think. Wow, alright, so we're just getting full rain tempo again. Interesting. I wonder if the hand was a brick then, if there weren't attacks, or else I feel like you pitch a shred. We'll see. And here we have CLF. So we'll go ahead and play the CLF. Trying to figure out what I want to pitch here. I mean, it doesn't matter, it's all the same thing. The question, I guess, is do we want to overpitch the Sink Below out? Do we want to play the Winter's Bite and then Arsenal the Sink Below? I think we can just probably sandbag it, maybe. I'm assuming with, you know, 4 cards left, she'll probably try to send something through the CLF, and we're probably glad we keep the Sink. Alright, that's so bad for us, but oh well. I go ahead and block like that, I'm pretty sure. We could also let the winners by die, but we're probably good just to... Is there any way to activate rousing? There is not. So I think we're just gonna like play red winners bite and then send hammer. It kind of sucks, but... Hardest part here actually might be finding damage to close the game out. Like, we are ripping a lot of cards, which is good for us. Like, all 3 levels are gone. You know, Chi does nothing this game, pretty much. But, you know, I still have to find a way to actually close this out. Because we are not dealing as much damage as I would like to, you know? But I'm not super concerned, just because our weapon is so good late game, being able to send 4 or 3. And looking over here, we know there's a Codex and Pitch. So 1 is still live in the deck, but it seems like we're kind of running out of gas here for the opponent. 3rd Siren's Call gone, that's good for us. Oh, here we have a really good play. CNC, that's pretty terrible on our end, but we're gonna see what we want to do. We could eat it and then descend our own, but with no arsenal, it's really bad, honestly. We could block 6 and then like play the red winners by and pass. I'm not thrilled about it. We could also block for 7 with these and send Titan's Fist for 4. We can also just eat it. I don't hate the idea of just eating the card. It kind of feels bad. We go to 24 and we lose our D-React, but I think we need to start putting the pressure on, because like we're losing a bit of damage here. But with no arsenal, it's like a really hard thing to capitalize on, in my opinion. Let's go ahead and start with the red winners bite and then get the read on what we want to do here. It's also possible we can descend the CNC and not pummel it. Based on what happens. Like if they block 6, I think I'm more inclined to... Oh, or would we want to do this here? It's such a hard call to make. I think we probably get to pummel the next thing we see instead. Do we have one more Frostfang? If we have one more Frostfang, I think I want to pummel it. There's also a likelihood it could be a D-React or something. Let's just go ahead and use it now. This might be incorrect, I'm not entirely sure. The chance it's a D-React though, I want to use this here because it's our last CNC. I guess if it's a setup card... No, it was a Chi, it was the worst one. We didn't need to use this at all. Oh well. And now we have a really, really bad hand. Unfortunate. Let's go ahead and give them full tempo for fun and see if we die instead. It was pretty terrible. Okay. That is pretty atrocious. Interesting. So is it going to be... I don't know what it's going to be here. It could be a Chi activation. We have nothing though. I think we just hold this hand and we're going to like pummel Frostfang unless if they, rip stuff. Oh, they're going to use it to banish. Okay, wait. Okay, we just read what it is. Okay, so they're gonna probably banish a blue from Arsenal. So I want to say we give Tunic here. It's possible to give Tunic. I normally wouldn't like giving Tunic, but we are out of pummels, and we have one more Mangle. Getting to send the last Mangle would be nice, obviously, but there's a pretty high likelihood that we're... Oh, we also could put Stalag in front of it. Stalag also plays around arousing. I guess I kind of like it. But we'll see. Okay, it's shred. So they're gonna get to put an 8 power into banish. Oh, they're gonna get to put 2. Wow, what an insane hit. Okay, that's bad for us, but the nice part, I guess, is they haven't had a chance to actually resolve chi yet, so, but that is not what we wanted, that's for sure. But using the stalag there actually did, you know, prevent them from arsenaling Justin Nick. I think because we kept the hand, we're probably just gonna pummel the Frostfang. Yeah, like we could play Icequake on it and then like save Tunic for a pummel line next turn, but I think we're happy with this. Especially if they're playing that aggressively with the hand. Really hoping they don't have a sync response. They don't, okay. We probably got very lucky. I'm assuming they probably didn't want to get hit by this. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out. Okay, yeah, they were gonna try to bonds us. Cool. Happy with that exchange for sure. And with the frostbite, they're just passing back. So let's hope our hand does something. Our hand does absolutely nothing. That's awesome. We can Icequake Macho, I guess. Wow. Just like one other attack here, and we get to play like Rouse into like Icequake Hammer. We get to like go like Icequake into Rouse into Hammer. If we just have like some other card here. Crazy that we banished the blue Glacial, because the blue Glacial would be in the spot here. So we'd have blue Glacial, 2 Rouses, Macho. Like we would be absolutely cooking, but instead we're just getting obliterated. I say we play this. We get to give the Frostbite, so it's not terrible. Do I want to keep the Rouse? We have the damage to keep Rouse, but I think we're just gonna send Matcha for 11. We need to start closing the game out here. And second Frostbite on hit's pretty sick too, honestly. Like they're gonna have to fight through 2 Frostbites on their turn. I'm hoping we can't get our entire hand ripped like that. Like they're so low. It's very possible we could just kill them next turn with Glacial. Or at least get very close to doing it. Okay. I think we have to let this hit us. Like we could block on this if we want to, but I mean we can block with Tunic, honestly. We can pop Wave and Stilettos, but then those are gone for the rest of the game. I say we block with Tunic here. Force them to actually have a pump. I'm assuming they do have a pump, but they. Okay, it was Nick. All right, it's fine. I'm hoping they hit a red, honestly. Okay, no, they're gonna get to take their card of choice. We are down to 17 cards. This is getting scary. We do have a lot of life total to work with, though. I'm assuming it's probably Codex here. Or it could be a new activation. They could get to throw 8. Which is pretty nuts. Oh, it was Codex. Okay. In this situation, I think we're getting probably Frostfang. We'll discard this and then block with these 2. Definitely unfortunate. You do hate to see it. I do think that's the 3rd Nick gone though. Or 1 is in pitch. I think they're about to draw like Surgical here. So we may have to block the dagger. Or we can just block for 7 on it. That's a hard read to make. I'm like 90% sure it's a surgical in the hand right now, unless if I'm just wrong. Oh no, all three have been blocked with. I don't remember what the hand is then. Or I guess I can use chi this turn. Right, okay. Got it. So they're gonna send 16 at us? That sucks. I think we really just kind of lost the game when we drew Rouse. That was really bad, honestly. Just losing Rouse was terrible. We lose access to our sink this turn as well. That's pretty bad. Our turn is going to be probably blocking for 6 here, and then hoping that that we get to send Frostfang at least. Oof, that's a lot of damage. Oh, Fang Strike is terrible. Okay, I think we actually lose the game on the spot instead. So, like we talked about, this deck is cool, but you have to be so careful with these versions of Jarl. The biggest issue is the fact that, you know, they completely fold instantly to new. Like they have no real like strong win con. I think this is probably the strongest Jarl list I could conceive of, mainly because specifically into new that still has an aggressive game plan, just because like you saw this game we were able to hand rip so consistently that it makes it difficult for her to scale her hands well. But like I said, all it takes is like one turn where they're able just to send like 2, you know, of your blue cards that they managed to banish. We block so carefully with all of our with like all of our large powers, like our like 8 powers, like we didn't stick them in front of stealth cards. She just got really lucky and just like managed to shred that bonds and hit 2 cards, and instantly the game like turned on us, like within one turn cycle, right? The entire game is done. So it is so obnoxious, but you know, it's why you would consider something like, you know, a Bark Skin or a Heavy Aura game plan for your Jarl list, is if you're playing against a lot of new, even if you play smart and correct, you know, you can just get absolutely wrecked sometimes to these builds. Like, you know, even when we get to Rip Mask, like the chi is still just as dangerous, and even if you're really careful about where you're like putting your large blues, like she can still just do stupid stuff like this, right? And we just like lost the game out of nowhere. I actually felt like we were pretty poised to win this, but all it took was that one bonds hitting, and the game was just done. So at least I'm hoping that kind of gives an idea of how to play Jarl, at least on this kind of builds into, you know, disruptive decks, but obviously into aggro you're going to play so much more aggressive tempo, kind of like this game, but you know, you probably get to hold tempo a lot better, do the Ice Quakes and the Frost Fangs and the Pummels, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but until next time, thank you for watching.